Do you think there are no more good video games being made today? If so, you're wrong, and I'm going to go into why. I'm Hawk, and this is Talk of Better Worlds. This video is part of a series that will be as long as it needs to be, that Sir Felix and I are doing, that we're calling The State of Gaming. Over the years, as I've traversed through the decrepit and degenerate landscape that we call the internet, I've seen in some of its darker corners people making videos and posting comments about how there are no more good video games, that in the year of our Lord 2024, it's impossible to find good games. Nobody's making them, nobody can find them, nobody knows what to do. Well, I'm here to let you know that that's wrong. If you own a single console, or if you are dedicated to a certain platform, I can understand that options may seem a bit limited at times, but your options are, to an extent, as limited as your willingness to look for new things. A lot of the times, the people who seem to be pushing this narrative are people who play just FIFA and Call of Duty, and they've done that for 15 years, or they just play MMOs, or they just play a broad blanket online shooter, or whatever the hell. They seem to stick to a single type of game, or a single series of games, and they want to say that because that new installment of their favorite series, or that new installment of that type of game is bad, that there are no good games. The problem is, people don't broaden their horizons. This is something that you could apply to everything everywhere. People don't like to look for new stuff because new stuff can be scary, and I understand that. But sometimes all it takes is a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust in yourself, and you could find some awesome, incredible new stuff that you would have never even thought existed if you hadn't just broadened your horizons a little bit and opened up your eyes a little more. Underneath the decrepit, crumbling infrastructure that is the standard of AAA games, there is an ocean, a sea of usually indie games, sometimes AA games, that are absolutely incredible and blow the tits off of most AAA games that have come out in the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years. Last year alone, we had an indie game, technically an indie game, win Game of the Year. We are in a renaissance of gaming. There are more great games out today than there have ever been in the history of gaming. The industry itself is in a better place than it's ever been in its history. If you solely look at the industry through the lens of AAA gaming, microtransactions, all the fuckery that major companies do with us and the games that they produce, then yeah, it looks really, really bad. Ignore that. Well, maybe not ignore it. Fight it. But fight it by buying better games made by smaller development studios. I understand that the games that the AAA industry have been putting out have been god-awful, and we need them to stop. We need them to change. Thankfully, we're starting to see some collapse with this process. Look at the stuff that's going on with Ubisoft at this point. But if you want to escalate that process, if you want to expedite that process, then stop buying their fucking games. Go on Google and look for new games released this month for whatever, Xbox, well, you won't find many there, but Xbox or PS5 or Switch or PC on Steam. If you have a PC, go onto the upcoming games for whatever genre that you're looking for and just add a bunch to your wish list and check them out when they release. Look for these things online. You could find so many games, a whole world of games that you would have never known they exist unless you sought them out on your own. Most of these games don't rely on traditional advertisement because advertising video games today is basically pointless when you could just have it blow up on social media or spread by word of mouth or have people give good reviews to the point where there's articles written about it or whatever. A game has a gimmick, someone talks about it somewhere, and the game gains traction. You don't really need traditional advertisement, so it's not good to look at traditional advertising venues and avenues to see these games, to find these games. Because if you do that, you'll only be stuck in the AAA circuit and you'll want to die. Now, I'm approaching this mainly from the perspective of a PC player. I know it's going to turn a lot of people off, boo-hoo, go away. But I own almost every console. I've played almost every console at this point. But PC is just my main because I'm an image fidelity snob and I just love the availability of games on it. While it's easier to find smaller and often better games on PC than it is on almost any other console, that's not to say that these games aren't able to be found on other consoles or consoles in general. It's not to say that there are no great games that you haven't heard of coming out today, or yesterday, or the day before, or in the next 2 months on any console of your choice. No matter what platform you play on most, no matter what type of game you love most, no matter what genre you have the most love for and have enjoyed the most through your life, no matter what concept or gameplay style or anything, no matter what you like or want out of games, there are games out there for you right now that you've never heard of. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them. All you have to do is look. You know, what's happening with the gaming industry right now is pretty comparable to stuff that you see in the music industry. Really in any kind of artistic industry, where there's a group of companies, corporations, and evil fuckers who own the biggest share, and they're putting out absolute garbage. And they push absolute garbage. And all you'll see on advertisements and from major sources is absolute fucking trash. But if you look under that, there's amazing music out there. There's amazing artists out there from all over the world. There's some guy in some country you didn't even know existed producing music right now that is almost tailor-made for you and only you. And you could find it if you look hard enough. The same can be said for video games, the same can be said for movies, the same can be said for more traditional art forms too. The internet and globalization have destroyed monoculture, and some people think that's bad. I don't happen to be one of them, because today, you have stuff that's out there that seems tailor-made for you and your interests and your wants, and it's beautiful. We live in a beautiful time on so many levels. Stuff is absolutely god-awful in other ways, but this at least is really cool. Now, I can't be there to hold your hand to look for stuff that you want to find in terms of gaming for whatever console you play. But to kind of drive the point home, I'm going to go over what I consider a brief list of video games that you've probably never heard of and almost exclusively have at least very positive, mostly positive reviews on Steam. And a lot of these games are cross-platform. You can find them on at least one other platform outside of PC. But let's go over this list. This year alone, in 2024, we have Heroes Rest at mostly positive, Forever Winter, which is in early access. It is rough as hell, but it's got a lot of promise, and it's sitting at mostly positive, and it's almost broken. Okay, it's a great game. It's going to be a great game. Trading card game Card Shop Simulator, TCG Card Shop Sim. Overwhelmingly positive. You've probably heard of this one. It's fucking awesome. Shadows of Doubt. Probably haven't heard of this one, but it's the best detective simulator you'll ever see and probably have ever seen in your entire life. Star Wisp Hyperdrive. It's only got 9 reviews, but only one of them is negative last time I looked, so that to me counts as overwhelmingly positive. You've got Brew Barons, or The Brew Barons, at mostly positive. Brew Barons, you play as this group of people who makes alcohol and flies airplanes and has to deal with pirates, and it's Japanese anime-like, but it's so good that I like it. You've got Pacific Drive, which also may have heard of this one. If you haven't, look it up. It's on almost everything. It's it's on PS5 and PC. That Xbox doesn't count. But it's really, really good. You've got Supermarket Sim, which is what inspired TCG Card Sim. Really good supermarket simulator, very positive, multi-platform. You've got All Quiet in the Trenches. I almost said All Quiet on the Western Front, which it was inspired by, sitting at very positive. First Cut, a samurai duel kind of game. Really, really dope. Very positive. Dominions 6, pretty niche, but really good, very positive. Fucking Helldivers 2, which is my Game of the Year contender, personally. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care who wins it. That's probably my game of the year. On PS5 and PC, mostly positive, but that's because people bitched about updates and they're stupid, but it's a great game. Sons of the Forest, very positive. Coming to consoles if it's not on consoles already. Sequel to The Forest, creepy as hell, really cool, like survival base building type game. That's this year. That's a small list of games from this year. You've got 2023. Ready or Not, very positive. It's the successor to the SWAT games, if you're familiar with them, or old school Rainbow Six when it was still good. Rainbow Six Siege sucks balls. That's a very positive. Pioneers of Pagonia, the same people who made The Settlers, left Ubisoft and whatever the hell company and went on to make a good version of The Settlers because the newer ones from Ubisoft suck ass. That's very positive. Rogue Trader, very positive. Warhammer 40k. It's on console. It explores the very, very interesting concept of rogue traders and where they sit in the 40k universe. I've talked about it before. Won't go on more about it now. Last Train Home. A game that is pretty close to home for me, being of Czech descent. It's about Czechs who went through some crazy shit after World War I. That's at very positive. Wizardom. Pretty cool game, only played a little bit of it. I liked it a lot. It's sitting at very positive. Another banger you may not have heard of. Anvil Saga. Played the hell out of this one. You play as a blacksmith. It's a side-scroller kind of pixel game. Really, really good. Mostly positive. Coral Island hit 1.0 in 2023. That's very positive. My wife, personally, this is her favorite game ever made. It's kind of like a Stardew type game, but better in a lot of ways, I think. You've got Warhammer Fantasy Realms of Ruin, which is mixed in terms of reviews at this point, but that's because people were saying it's like a, quote, old school or old style RPG or RTS, and it's not. It's nothing like an OG RTS, but it's really good as it is, and that's fine, so deserves a better review score in my opinion, but stupid is stupid. You've got the RoboCop game, mostly positive. Another great game, needs some optimization in my opinion, but really, really good. Hit the mark on the field with RoboCop. You've got My Time at Sandrock, 2023, very positive. You've got Dungeons 4, new Dungeons game, which was inspired by the Dungeon Keeper, I believe, the old Dungeon Maker kind of game. Another kind of niche thing, but really cool. You've got Alaska Road Truckers, a truck sim that's not American Truck Simulator, and you even get to, like, move around inside the cabin and sleep, and you have to eat and do all that kind of stuff. It's at mixed reviews right now because people seemingly wanted to run it on hardware that's like 15 years old, and it does need some optimization, but that's partially on them too. You've got Quasimorph, which is a kind of top-down pixely Tarkov kind of single-player game. It's hard to explain, really hardcore, very, very difficult, but awesome, very positive. You have Airship Kingdoms Adrift. Mixed because some people had crashes. I personally never had a crash with the game, but put a lot of hours into this. Could be unrelated. Who the hell knows? It's PC. Baldur's Gate 3. Do I need to say anything more about this game? Do I really need to say anything more about Baldur's Gate 3? After that, you've got Let's School, which is a game where you create a school. It's like a Japanese kind of style. It's inspired by Japanese schools. It's like Prison Architect, but with a school. You've got Treepang 2. There is no Treepang 1. Weird that he did that. Cool, but awesome game. It's a very positive. Bolt Gun, because fuck you. It's Warhammer Doom. How could you not love that? Also, you've probably heard of it. You have Xenonauts 2, which is basically XCOM that was. The XCOM that was. The XCOM that should have been. And it's really good. It's in early access at this point, I think. And last time I played it, I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to let that cook for a bit. You've got Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2, or UEBS, which is just Insanity the game. You could do anything you want with this. It's really cool. Look up gameplay. You have Aliens Dark Descent, which, as an OG Aliens lover, is an awesome game. If you like Aliens, the Alien franchise, you should definitely check that one out, and I think it's also on some consoles. You have Amnesia the Bunker, which is overwhelmingly, positively, pants-shittingly fucking terrifying, okay? That game deserves all the praise that it gets. It was incredible, and I can't finish it because I'm a bitch. System Shock, the remake, very positive. Speaks for itself. System Shock is a legendary game. The remake did it justice. Amazing game. Forever Skies, probably haven't heard of this one. You basically control a blimp airship thing flying over a destroyed Earth, and it's a survival base builder kind of game. Really cool. Really, really different from a lot of the other ones. You have Everspace 2, which is Diablo in space, effectively, but with a better story, in my opinion. That's sitting at very positive, and I also believe that's on some consoles. I didn't really check with that one. It was too much work. You have The Great War Western Front, which is mostly positive. This one had some issues. Patches kind of fixed a lot of stuff with it, but it's a RTS set in World War I. I love I don't love World War I, but I love, researching and being immersed in World War I stuff, so that's pretty cool. Phantom Brigade hit 1.0 in 2023, I believe. Could be wrong. It's kind of an XCOM style game, but with mechs and a pretty cool time control system. Really, really awesome. I also think that might be on consoles. Contraband Police, which to me is great. Amazing game. You play as a border crossing guard who has to check for contraband in some Eastern European country under a dictator, and you make choices, and it's deeper than you might think. Great game, and that's sitting at very positive. Hogwarts Legacy, which should have been a contender for Game of the Year, but the gaming industry sucks ass, so you've heard of that one, but it's another good game that came out recently, very positive. Spaceborne 2, which is, I believe, a single developer. One guy making this game, and it's at mixed reviews right now because people's expectations are totally whack, but it's an amazing game. It came out in 2023. In 2022, you have Proteus, which is a Doom-type game. Kind of came out of left field for me, at least. I didn't see many people covering it or talking about it, but I stumbled on it, and I love the hell out of it. You have Trail Out, which is a successor to the Flat Out games from the PS2 era. I loved those games as a kid. Trail Out is pretty good. Not as good as those, but nostalgia is a hard thing to beat. You have Hardspace Shipbreaker, which also I believe hit 1.0 in 2022. That's sitting at very positive, and that's a game where you play as a blue-collar worker under the oppression of megacorps, breaking ships apart in space and not getting paid nearly enough for it, and dying often. You get cloned and respawn, effectively. Whole story there. But you have Realms of Magic, which is a interesting spin on the kind of Terraria-style game. It's fantasy, it's got an interesting story, that's sitting at mostly positive. You have Boat Crew, which is Bomber Crew, if you're familiar with that. If not, look it up. But on a boat, that's at very positive. It's a gunboat in World War II. You have Black Geyser Couriers of Darkness sitting at mostly positive, which is basically a Baldur's Gate type game. It's a CRPG, very old school in its approach, really good, but hard as hell. You have Gloomwood, which blew up, so you've probably heard of that one. That's very positive. I also think it's on at least one console out there. You have Zero Sievert. I believe it's how you pronounce it. The tile will be on screen here, but it's basically a single-player Tarkov that has its own, top-down, almost, not pixely, but kind of pixely art style. That's very positive. Mount and Blade Bannerlord 2, which Mount and Blade has always been amazing, and Mount and Blade Bannerlord 2 had some issues at launch, but now it's incredible, and mods make it even better, and that's very positive, and if it's not on console, it will be on console at some point, because the first one was too. You have Symphony of War, another Japanese-style game that's so good, even I like it. It's an RTS, and it's in the same vein as, I think Tactics Ogre or something. I forget the old school game. Sir Felix would know. You could yell at me in the comments, whatever. But it's really good. You have Tin Can, which is also very positive. It's kind of an escape room game where you're in a escape pod from a ship in space, and everything you do will cause lots of issues, and it's difficult, but it's funny in how difficult it is. And finally, I have Elix 2. I gotta say, the obligatory rest in peace Piranha Bytes. That's sitting at mostly positive. We'll never see Elix 3. That scars me deeply. And Elix is an incredible two-game series, RPG series made by the amazing Piranha Bytes. and unfortunately it's probably the last we'll see of them or the series. But it's an amazing game. I highly recommend playing Elix 1 and 2. I also believe both of them are on consoles. But these are just some of the newer games that have come out in the last 3 years that you probably haven't heard of. A lot of them are on consoles too, and almost every single one of them is incredible, rated incredibly by most people. I personally think they're incredible. Now, I suck at math, but I'm pretty sure that was 55 games, and that was a drop in the bucket of games that have come out in the last couple of years, and nothing compared to the games that are coming out over the next year or 2 years or however long that are amazing and will probably be amazing, and most of these games will fly totally under your radar, totally under most people's radar. So the next time you see someone say, "Oh, there's no more good games coming out at this point, all games suck ass," or the next time you even think that, how about you take a second and either tell them or tell yourself, maybe there aren't any games that you've found that you enjoy yet. Because I guarantee you there are games out there that you would absolutely love. It's just a matter of time until you find them. But whether or not you find them is on you. And those are my thoughts on people saying there are no more good games. So if you agree with me, let us know. If you don't agree with me, definitely let us know. And thank you for watching or listening if you got to this point. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.